Hi there, Stampers! Today we are going to be making a marshmallow snowman! Look how cute he is! We'll be using these Stampin' Up! Sweet Treat Cups. I'll also be showing you how to do this super cool background using shimmer paints. How cool is that? Oh, and wait, there's more! Do you see this ribbon? Yeah, it's silver, isn't it? Haha, guess what? Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell silver ribbon. Let me show you how to do this too. Let's get started. For our background, we will be using Stampin' Up's all-purpose ink, also known as shimmer paint, and Serene Snowflake stamps. And don't forget the sponge dauber. This is the Frost White shimmer paint. I'm going to shake it up. I'm going to pour it into, this is just an old lid to one of my Brad containers. Just going to pour it right into that. Then we'll take our snowflake stamp, and I'm going to take a little bit of the shimmer paint. I don't want it to be globby, so I'm dabbing it down just to smooth it out a little bit. Then I'm going to just dab this right onto the stamp so that our stamp is covered with it. And then I'm going to randomly stamp it down. Yes, I'm stamping off the edge. And we're going to do this all over the card. So I've stamped that 5 times on the 2 corners and in the center, but random so they don't line up. And then I'm going to take this stamp and I'm going to fill in the spaces the same exact way. Now I had mentioned the glops earlier. See, that little guy has a little glop on it. I think he's alright where he is though, because I don't think we'll see it when I finish the project. I'm going to take the sponge dauber, and I have not re-dipped this into the ink after the last stamp, so it has a little bit of ink on it. And I'm just going to flick it around the edge, just to give it a little border, just a little added shimmer around the border. And there, see, I just rubbed that flaw right out. No one's ever going to know it was there. Well, unless you guys tell them. Okay, the next portion of this card, I'm going to use some rubbing alcohol. I'm going to pour that right into a spray bottle here. And then I'm going to take an eyedropper. I've actually already done this, so I'm not going to demonstrate it. I'll just tell you what to do. I'm going to dip the eyedropper into the all-purpose ink, after you're shaking it up, of course. And then pour maybe 5 or 6 drops into your bottle with the rubbing alcohol. And then shake that up real good. Now this is the Frost White. You can do it with any of the shimmer paint colors. Take the spray bottle. I'm going to take the spray bottle and spray that mixture right across our card. Now I know it got really wet all of a sudden, and it'll dry in just a minute. Even though it's wet, I'm just going to zoom in so you can see what just happened here. Can you see all of those glittery little specks in there? Oh, so cool, and it's already starting to dry. So when it dries, we'll pull it out again and take another look at it. While we are waiting for our background to dry, we're going to move on to the next step. This is white 5/8 inch satin ribbon from Stampin' Up. Oh, very luxurious. I love this. I cut about an 8-inch strip here, and then I'm just going to fold this in half. Here's a little tip for cutting your ribbon. Just take it, fold it in half, taking my craft and paper scissors because they rock, and just trim it at an angle, and when you unfold it, oh, isn't that awesome? Do that on both sides. You want to see it again? Here we go. Fold, snip. So cool. Okay, I'm breaking out my old Brad lid again. This time I'm using the platinum, or I like to call it silver, shimmer paint. Shake it up real good. Pour a little bit out onto the dish. Take your sponge dauber. I've probably poured a little bit too much, so maybe don't follow my example on that amount. And just rub it right across the ribbon. And oh my gosh, is that awesome? Just in that one little movement, we have made this white satin ribbon silver. So cool. So I want to go ahead and do that with the whole ribbon. We'll just put this aside to dry. For the background of this card, we'll be using the Christmas Punch stamp set from Stampin' Up and the Holly Jolly greeting out of it. This was actually a Hostess stamp set that I got free. Alright, we're going to take some Versamark ink pad, stamp the Holly Jolly right on some basic black. Maybe you can see that, maybe you can't. Doesn't matter because we're going to pour embossing powder on it. I'll be taking some silver embossing powder and pouring that right over that panel. Flick the back, get any extras off. We don't want any freeloaders. Okay, once we flicked off all of the extra, tap the extra embossing powder right back into the jar. We'll take our embossing heat tool and we'll heat that up. It's a wow every time. We are going to punch that out with the Stampin' Up! Curly Label Punch. Just turn that upside down. This stamp was actually made to be punched out by the Curly Label Punch. I love that. So it's the exact shape, and just punch that right out, and then we'll put this aside. Next, we will create our little snowman hat with the Stampin' Up! Large Tag Punch. Just use that upside down as well. punch that out. And then what I did was I took the little extra I got here when I punched that out, and I used that for the hat brim. Cut that off, and then I'm going to trim just a hair of the hat off. A little bit too tall for my liking for a snowman. Now the brim just snails right on. Take the pumpkin pie grosgrain ribbon, just a tiny little piece of this, just enough to fit around the hat. I've probably cut way too big of a piece there, but I want enough to be able to tie a knot with. So we're going to tie a knot just for a little accent on his hat. And you can either use mini glue dots or the snail to attach this to his hat. I'll just use the snail because I happen to have that on my hand. And that just goes right over the top. And his hat's complete. Next I'm going to use a 3/4 inch punch, again upside down. Punch out one little circle. This is going to go in our button. Yes, I said button. This is a clear button. These are really cool. Squares and circles. This particular one will be a circle. And I'm going to put the black right behind it. Break out our friend the mini glue dot. Stick one mini glue dot right behind the 2 holes on the button. And stick that right down on the circle. Use your mat and a paper piercer to make those holes go right through the black cardstock. Next up is a little bit of silver cord from Stampin' Up. I love this stuff. We're just going to string this right through, tie it in a knot. Okay, next up we are going to work with some food. So you are going to wash your hands, and then we're going to use some mini marshmallows and a sweet treat cup. Okay, with clean hands, you're going to take your marshmallows and just pop them right in there. If you take too many out, just eat them. Our base is a basic black panel. Fold that down with a bone folder for a nice crisp edge. And on top of that, we'll put some Whisper White. Now the Whisper White panel actually did it 5 inches by 3 3/4. Now our Not Quite Navy is all dry. We're going to take the 1 3/4 inch circle punch all the way up kind of to the left hand side. We're going to want to put adhesive on the back of this, and then we want to peel off this protective backing on the back of the sweet treat cup so that's sticky. What I found was, instead of just flopping this over and all the marshmallows falling out, that it was easiest to kind of bring that back with us. Then line it up, press it down good. These are just some Stampin' Dimensional pop dots to make our greeting really jump off the card. Just put those at a little bit of an angle. Now the hat, I thought it looked kind of funny. It was just floating in space because I couldn't get it close enough because the sweet treat cup was in the way. So I actually took it and stuck it into the 1 3/4 inch punch and punched off a little piece of the brim. Some Stampin' Dimensionals for that. Googly eyes. We want 2 of these. Stick your googly eyes right on with mini glue dots. You can actually stick it right to the roll. Has a glue dot right on the back. I'm going to take a scrap of pumpkin pie. I'm just cutting freehand a little triangle out. Carrot nose will stick on with a glue dot. Now we'll bring in our dry silver ribbon. Now I will note that I tried several different adhesives, the snail and the glue dots, on the satin ribbon, but once we put the shimmer paint on it, neither one of them stuck. So you are going to want Stampin' Up! Sticky strip for this part. Sticky strip is really strong. Just cutting off a couple of pieces of the sticky strip. And what I'm going to do is kind of fold over, position this the way I want it to go. It's going to be his little scar. So I'm going to put some sticky strip right here. Peel off that protective backing. And we'll fold that right up the way we want it. And then I'm going to stick another piece of sticky strip underneath the ribbon. And then that's just going to stick right down there. Just fold that in half and... Now your last step is attaching the little button. Just take a little dimensional and stick that right on the back of your button. My ribbon wasn't totally dry, so you want to make sure that this ribbon is really, really dry before you start working with it, and then it will stick down and not be naughty on you. And when you're done, you have this super stinking cute card. And I want to say thank you to my upline, Robin Desko, who actually came up with the Marshmallow Snowman idea. She's awesome, and so is the card. Thanks for joining us today.